Hi guys, we're sat here at the Queen's Park Oval and I'm very fortunate to have alongside me Machel St Patrick Hewitt of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast fame. And usually he's the one who's asking the questions, but we've just switched sides for the moment. So I'm going to ask him a few questions. But firstly, I just want to commend you, Machel, and your partner in crime, Santoki, for the tremendous work that you guys have done in really finding a space for West Indian cricket fans and followers on social media platforms, those who are keen and still have an interest in the game. We know that in the last 2 decades or so and the performances of the team on the field, a lot of our fans have left us, but we still have quite a few in the region, in the diaspora and even outside. So many commendations for the job that you guys have done and you guys continue to do. But let's start there then. In terms of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, what was the genesis for that for you and for Santoki to get that going?
Yeah, I think first things first, I think Santoki and I both benefited from parents who still had a love of the game and had passed down. And I do think this is a big thing, whether from you to your children, me to mine, whatever it might be, in terms of if you don't pass the oral tradition down of the importance of West Indies cricket, that's the first kind of sever in the chain as to why the passion won't continue. My dad, where he's Jamaican, I'm Jamaican, we're of Jamaican heritage, Santoki, Guyanese, it's come through that tradition. And although both of us ultimately grew up in London, we connected over that kind of shared love and interest in West Indies cricket. And at the time, we felt that there wasn't a medium that could bring everybody all together. So you'll know as well as I do, within each of the territories, there's our own media outlets that cover the territory. But there wasn't really that one outlet that I felt brought everybody together without a focus on any one particular territory.
Yeah, and you guys have done a really good job of combining that content, and the fan base, I suppose, grew exponentially in the few years that you guys have been together. It's your first time here in Trinidad and Tobago. Some people call Barbados the Mecca of West Indies cricket. This is the Mecca of West Indies cricket here at the Queen's Park Oval. Tell us a little bit about your experience so far here at the Queen's Park Oval.
Well, do you know, that's quite interesting. I've just seen your feature on TV about the Queen's Park Oval. And the first thing, and this is genuine, the first thing that struck me when I got here on day one is this is actually a majestic ground. Whether people like it or not, there are certain grounds, and this isn't just within the Caribbean, just in cricket, where when you go there and you look around, you're like, oh, I get it. And this one has that. However you want to kind of contextualize it, there's something that grabs you when you come into this ground. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in other grounds around the region, but you can sense it here, certainly. And people say I'm being ridiculous, but I'm being really honest. You can smell the history of certain grounds, and you can visualize when those famous victories took place, and Queen's Park Oval definitely has that. So it's been great to come along for the 5 days. Yes, everyone can talk about the ground isn't packed out, but do you know what I will say is, over in that Carib stand, the people who have turned up are passionate. They make more noise than the amount of people that are there, so the passion is still there. And I'm sure, as you will confirm, when there's the shorter format games in this ground, and obviously over at Lara in Tarouba as well, people will still come. So I don't ever buy this notion that no one really cares about the cricket. We've just got to do better sometimes at marketing the traditional formats of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The 3 T20 matches to be played at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy after the second test in Guyana, there will be a huge crowd, and certainly for CPL, this venue here is packed out to capacity. I notice your Jamaican wristband. I'll have to get you one from Trinidad and Tobago before you leave here. There is a commonality between Machel and myself. We come from an education background. He is, of course, a vice principal, I understand, at a secondary school back in London. But in terms of the time, because this takes up a lot of time, what you do, and the time difference as well when West Indies play their matches, it's a 5-hour difference when they play in the region here, and then of course around the world. How do you get the time to manage all of these things?
The truthful answer is I don't know. That's the real honest answer. This one though, coming to Trinidad, well, I'm on holiday right now, and it just fell perfectly. It was a chance to come to Trinidad and Tobago for the first time ever. West Indies were happening to play a test match in Trinidad, which isn't. People don't realise there's only been 7 of them in the last 12 years, so it's not actually. This was like a unique experience to come and see a test match at the Queen's Park Oval. And then outside of that, how do I do it? A lot of late nights, a lot of what I would say is multitasking, and it's tiring. I'm not going to try and lie to people. I think sometimes people don't understand that what we run, it's not paid for. We don't have employees per se. It's literally a passion. It's a labour of love. It's a passion project, which just reaps some rewards and benefits from time to time. But it's a real case study in, if you love something enough, you'll find the time to invest in it, and that's what we've done.
I'll temper all of what he said there by saying he's a vice principal, so he has nothing to do all day at school. So he can spend some time at late nights to do this. But just focusing on this test match, the first one in the series, Machel, West Indies 11 for 1, 298 is the target. We have 2 sessions of play remaining, weather permitting. Tell us about your thoughts of the way things have transpired so far and what is in potential for our viewers.
So I actually think the team's been caught in a difficult situation. I didn't say this yesterday, but after thinking about it a bit more, that delay on day 4, where probably a lot of people thought play wasn't going to happen, actually I think psychologically as a sports, I'm not a sportsman, I've not played a sport at a professional level, but I think that does play havoc with your mindset. So you can tell somebody, be ready, but it gets 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And at some point, I think that does impact on how ready you can be.
And just to add to that, yeah. Machel, I'm sorry to cut in. Play started somewhere around 3:30.
Yeah.
If I remember accurately yesterday, and the teams only got to the venue at around that 2:30 p.m. mark. So you're absolutely right. You're thinking about starting play, and then time goes by, and that plays on your mind, and mentally you can be tired.
Yeah. And I just thought, or I felt on reflection, that that's what we saw yesterday. And actually, as much as people might have thought, oh, you just have to bat out the day, it's a rain delayed match, etc. Actually, it's a bit more complex than that. Anyways, we've come to today. South Africa have predictably tried to bat at a quick rate, about just shy of 6 and over. And now we're faced with, they're still working on the ground, but it looks like, unless more rain comes, that we're going to have at least a session of batting. So let's say 30 overs. Let's say at least 30 overs. I get why they've started with intent. I would have preferred them not to do so, but I get it, because I think sometimes, or too many times, we've been caught out knowing that, right, all we need to do is block out the overs, and then before you know it, you can be 50 for 5 and the game's done. So I get showing intent. And I was just saying to you before we started recording this, that in a weird way, Craig being out isn't the end of the world, because we can't just keep looking at Craig Brathwaite and saying, right, Craig, lead the way, Craig, block it out and take the drama out of the situation. People cannot learn and develop unless they're put in situations where they have to play the important innings. So Craig's out already. It's up to Machel, Casey, Alec, Kavem. Obviously Jason and Josh are more experienced, but those 4 will have to stand up and show what they're about. Against
a quality South African bowling lineup, KG Rabada a few wickets away from achieving that milestone of 300 test wickets for South Africa. Keshav Maharaj was a tremendous threat in the first innings. No doubt some more assistance from the surface on day 5. Machel, I just want to thank you once again for your time in this interview, firstly, but for all of the good work that you and Santoki have been doing. I want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Santoki, second test match in Guyana. Get yourself across there. I'll be looking out for you.
Exactly.